joining us this evening. My name is Lorenzo Robertson. I'm the Executive Director with the Ujima Men's Collective. And tonight what we're going to do is really to do more of an education about what Kwanzaa is, because Kwanzaa actually starts on December the 26th and ends on January the 1st. So tonight is really to educate you about Kwanzaa, so therefore you can celebrate Kwanzaa with your friends and family at the end of the year or starting next year. So that's one of the reasons why we did it earlier this year as opposed to doing it on the 26th as we've done it in the past. First, I want to just thank all of you for coming out tonight. Thank our Brother Speak groups who are out tonight. I want to thank our sponsor, Gilead, who's one of our sponsors for this evening. And again, just thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we start our program, we want to do, is anyone, if you're over the age of 62, you're the one I want to talk to now. I want to ask you for permission to start our program because we need to get permission from the elders to actually begin our program. So can we start our program?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So the elders have told us we can start our program, so we'll now begin the program. So just want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming. If you have your program in your hand, there's a prayer that we're going to do prior to bringing up our speaker for this evening. And we're going to do it in unison. Does everyone have one? Is that right? Give me the flashlight. I'm sorry. Anybody else need it?
Might need to cut the light up.
So we're going to do the prayer in unison. If you can share with someone, you can read it. And we'll begin with my ancestors, guides, fierce protectors, and skilled healers. Please stand with Lorenzo. Be with me in this moment and guide me along my road with a cool head and a clear mind. I am root of your root, soil of your soil, bone of your bone, and the blood of your blood, not deaf to our sincere cries, nor blind to our honest expectations. Keep the gift of perfect health, wealth, and prosperity, so that we may honor and grow your legacy. I have not forgotten my commitment to our lineage, and I vow to never forget. Amen. Ashe. So that's just a prayer to really get us in tune with our ancestors, making sure that we are here to do the things that we are destined to do, not only for us, but also for our legacy and also for the people that are coming behind us. So we're going to have the next part of our program tonight is really about Brother Jamoke. He's going to actually give us the context of what Kwanzaa is, the origin of it, and the significance of it, and also going over all of the principles. And then he's going to also do libations for tonight. So, Brother Jamoke. Let's do it.
Thank you, Lorenzo. So, in keeping with the tradition of Kwanzaa, it's participatory, call and response. So there'll be times throughout where I'm going to look to hear from you and expect you to respond appropriately. So the prayer, I think, was a good move to set the tone. I'm going to go a little deeper now and go into what's called Tambiko. So during Kwanzaa, we used the language Kiswahili, which was determined some years ago to be a Pan-African language. It's not linked to a specific group of people. And so it was chosen as a language that people of African descent all over the world could learn as our African language, right? So Maulana Karenga, being wise to that fact, decided to use that language to embed inside of Kwanzaa. So we'll be using Kiswahili throughout the tradition, throughout the presentation. And so, as I said, often we call it libation, but the Swahili word is Tambiko. So everybody say Tambiko?
Tambiko.
Tambiko, okay. And so Tambiko is a way that we honor the Creator, we honor our ancestors. And so, again, it's call and response. So you affirm the Tambiko by saying the word Ashe. Everybody say Ashe?
Ashe.
Ashe means that so it is and so be it. And it's your way of participating in the libation. Usually, I keep saying, I'm still training myself to say Tambiko. So usually what we do is we pour, when we have ceremonies in our communities, we're usually outside actually on the earth. And so we pour the Tambiko onto the earth. And then over the years, because we do most of our stuff here on this side of the continent, inside, we often pour the Tambiko onto the earth, or onto a plant. This is not a live plant, so we're not doing that. So I've come up with yet another modification. So we always get creative, right? So what I do is I pour the Tambiko into this cup, and then when this ceremony is over, I'm gonna take it outside and pour it onto the earth. All right? I'll share. All right, so yeah, we have to get creative sometimes. So let's start by just centering ourselves, sit up straight, take a deep breath in. And breathe it out slowly. Breathe in again. And breathe out. Divine Spirit, source of all things, known by many names, sometimes called God, sometimes called Allah, sometimes called Yahweh, sometimes called Oludumare, sometimes called Ulukulu, sometimes called Inyame. We give thanks and praises for the power, for the presence, for the omnipotent one that exists in the universe. And we say, Ashe. Ashe. We give thanks and praises that magnificent one, she subdivides herself into what we call angels, orishas, netarus. These are powers and forces that when you learn how to tap into them, when you learn their songs, when you learn their dances, when you learn their rhythms, when you learn what they like, they can come closer to you and help you on your human journey. So we give thanks and praises for those what we call our angels or orishas, and we say Ashe. Ashe. We give the thanks and praises for this planet Earth, which is mostly water, that we live on, that provides us with the food that we need and oxygen and all the things that we need in order to survive as human beings, plants and animals and the insects and everything. We give thanks and praises for our connection to Mother Earth. Ashe. Ashe. We give thanks and praises to this specific territory that we're on. I believe some of the ancestral, some of the native indigenous lands we would call the Miami, Ashe. We would call the Seminole, Ashe, and others, Ashe. We recognize our great ancient African ancestors, those who were the first to build civilization, those who were the first to look at the stars, look at the heavens and understand astronomy and astrology, those who looked at the plants and began to learn the science of agriculture, those who looked at the herbs and began to understand the science of medicine, those who looked at the structures of other animals and began to understand architecture, science, religion, philosophy, engineering, math, all of that began on the continent of Africa. We give thanks for our ancient ancestors, Ashe. Those ancestors went out around the world and began to bring civilization to around the world, Ashe. We give thanks and praises for those yet when invaders came into our lands, what we sometimes call the Holocaust, the Ma'afa, the Ma'angamizi, but we fought back and we resisted. It was not easy for them just to come into our lands. Many of us fought, and we give thanks and praises for those who fought back, Ashe. But then some of those succumbed and ended up on the ships that brought us over here so we could continue to build civilization, Ashe. And we give thanks and praises for those who made sacrifices on our behalf so that we could be here today. Ashe. And at this time, if you'd like to call out the names of some of the great ancestors who we know have given us an example of what courage looks like, what creativity looks like, what power looks like, what resilience looks like, what fight back looks like. I'll start us off with Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Ashe. Nikki Giovanni just transitioned, Ashe. Bob Marley, Ashe. Recognize Amy Jack and Amy Ashwood Garvey, Marcus Garvey's compliments, Ashe. And Malcolm X, Ashe, and Betty Shabazz. Reverend Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Ashe. Ashe. And we give thanks and praises also for our family ancestors, our great-grandmothers, our great-grandfathers, our mothers and fathers if they've transitioned to the ancestor world, aunts, uncles, nephews. Anybody in your family line, if you want to, say their name out loud or just whisper it to yourself and remember them. And what we also say, though, in these community celebrations, we're calling out the positive, righteous ancestors. So if you know Uncle so-and-so wasn't like so good, you can call them out in your home at your ancestor altar. We don't call them out at the public situation, right? But if you know your grandmother was the one that took in the children in the community and fed people and sacrificed and was church mama and did all of that, you can call her name out in this circle, all right? You feel me? All right, let's do that. Ashe. The great slave, Solomon G. Slade, Ashe. Ashe, we thank them for their sacrifice. Ashe, we thank them for their prayers. Ashe, we thank them for the institutions that they built. We thank them for the organizations they built. Ashe, 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 we thank them. Ashe, Ashe. And we pour the last libation for our children and our children's children, those yet unborn. It is our belief that what we've done today, what we do today in our lives, and what we do every day in our life will create a better world for them. It'll bring more justice, more harmony, more peace, more power, more health, more prosperity, reparations, healing, salvation, all of those things that we need to strengthen ourselves as a people. So our prayer goes out into, we call way back into the past, and now we're going to call way into the future. And we give thanks and praises for those children yet unborn, that they may honor us as we have honored our ancestors. Ashe? Ashe. Ashe. Oh, a couple drops left. All right. Thank you. So last year when we came, we were invited to, and we were glad to be a part of it. And Baba here did a very nice song to the ancestors. So I asked him if he would like just to teach us that song again, because it's very important to get the spirit up, get the energy up, and get you involved in this process. Because I'll be doing a lot of talking, but music is, again, like the drums. Give thanks for the drummer as well. I say the universal language, our heartbeat. And Baba's going to lead us in a song.
I don't need that.
You don't need a mic?
Good evening, everyone. Bargani. In Yoruba land, we call the ancestors Egun, and call and response is real easy. The chant is Yaile, 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 Egungun, Yaile. The Ile is the house, the ancestors are the Egungun, and we're inviting them into our collective house. So I'll begin, and all you have to do is repeat. Are you ready?
Give us a round.
Yaile, 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 Egungun, Yaile, Yaile, Egungun, Yaile. Now just take your right hand, touch the ground. That's right. And now our ancestors, the real important people that should be here, are at our Kwanzaa. Thanks.
Thank you, Baba. So, the greeting that Baba did also is a part of Kwanzaa. Again, ask the question, Habarigani, which asks the question, how you doing? What's the news? What's the good news? And during each night of Kwanzaa, we would respond by the principle of that day. But since, as Lorenzo has explained, we're not in the Kwanzaa season yet, so we're going to pick a day. Anybody have a day they want to pick and put in the principles? Okay, I'm going to pick Umoja, unity. All right. So whenever we say Habarigani, today is going to be Umoja. So we'll say Umoja. Habarigani? Umoja. Habarigani? Umoja. And did I say, yeah, Umoja means unity? Yes. All right, very good. Very good. So Kwanzaa, I made a few notes because I always speak and I said, you know, you forgot something. Just a couple bullet points, I don't forget nothing. All right. So Kwanzaa was created in the 60s. It was created at a time when there was a lot of rebellion and uprising, and people were fighting back against oppression. I was going to say racial discrimination, oppression. That's the best. That's more broad. And And so there was something in Los Angeles, of one of the rebellions in Los Angeles known as the Watts Riots, 1965. See some gray hair, I think some people are familiar with that. And you should have learned about it in school. If you didn't, you should have learned about it at some point. And so what Dr. Maulana Karenga, who is a professor of African studies, we had an organization called the US organization, and he would label himself a cultural nationalist. And what that means basically is that he saw, and his organization saw, the solution that black people had resided in culture. And so what are ways that we can regain our culture to give us our power, to give us the strength to fight oppression, right? And he felt that culture was the way to do it. So he was always looking through that lens of how to use culture. And so after the Watts riot, he began to really think even more deeply on that, and said, we need a holy day. We need a set of days where we can come together as African people to honor our culture, to honor who we are, to honor those, like I mentioned in the Tambico, to honor the contributions that we've made to the world in math and science and technology. All those contributions that we've made still continue to make in this world. You know, we could talk about, we wouldn't even have a light if it wasn't for a man named Lewis Latimer. We could go on and on in terms of science and invention. We wouldn't have our cell phones, we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have, I could go on and on and on. Open heart surgery, we wouldn't have stoplight, we wouldn't have so many things. And so, again, so what he decided to do is to look at African cultural traditions and see what are some of the common themes that he could find. And one of those common themes he saw was harvest festivals. If you look all around, well, really anybody that grows food on this planet, indigenous anywhere, basically have harvest festivals. And so harvest festivals are based on the principle that, and I always like to ask this as a question. So you plant a seed in the ground, and then you water it, or actually nature waters it, right? You have the sun and the earth, and you pull the weeds and do all of that, but it's still one key element that's going to determine if that seed is going to grow or not into a plant and give you food. What's that element?
Love.
Now you got that really quick. Usually people be stumped for minutes. I had to give y'all the answer and everything. Did you hear? God.
I said love.
You said love?
I said love.
You said love.
I said God.
Somebody said God.
Said God. Somebody said God.
Somebody said God or goddess. All right.
Right.
That's the answer I was looking for. Love works too. But
God is love.
God has to come into that plant and give it the life force in order for it to grow. So indigenous people say, look, we know we did all of this work, but we had help with the sun, we had help with the water, we had help with God's life force energy coming into that plant. So before we eat anything, we're going to set aside some food and we're going to say, thank you, Creator. Thank you, ancestors. So that's the basis of the Harvest Festival. Now, well, sometimes I talk about Thanksgiving holiday as a harvest festival. That gets complicated, so I'm not going to go down that line. But indigenous people around the world, people who grow food, you can find this, you can research this, basically have some form of harvest festival. And so whether he looked at West Africa, whether he looked at East Africa, whether he looked at Southern Africa, he saw harvest festivals. It's okay, let's use that as the foundation. And so he, again, was looking at Kwanzaa as a weapon, as a tool to empower people of African descent using culture, right? And one of the things that he discovered he did a lot of study in ancient Kemet as well. And there was a concept called Sarouge. And Sarouge is the concept of saying that when something is broken or when something is tattered, needs to be repaired, there's a spiritual concept called Sarouge that people come together to heal and make amends and to restore. And so he looked at Kwanzaa in that same vein, as Kwanzaa was a way to restore, heal the oppression that black people face in the United States. And so he began to look at what are some of the unifying principles, again, of those harvest festivals, and to adapt them specifically to people of African descent. And so with all holidays, you have symbols. And what holidays do is, holidays do some very specific things, right? So holidays is a time that brings people together. So maybe the only time that you see grandma, grandpa, or your cousins, or certain distant uncles and aunts, right? So holidays are important because they bring people in, bring people together, the ingathering of the people. And again, that's universal, right? So he knew that would be one of the aspects that's important in a holiday is brings people together. Another thing that holidays often do is it's a celebration of the good. It's celebrating something that happened in the past, but it's celebrating something that we consider to be good and to reinforce those values. Another thing that holidays do, as I mentioned before, is it gives reverence to, like we did in Tabico, and as I said, we give a reference to, in the Harvest Festival, it gives reverence to what we call the Creator or the ancestors, right? It gives reverence to something higher than ourselves. So it's a time to do that as well. And so we said, okay, these are the important attributes of synthesizing a holiday. And so what he did was he said with all holidays, like there's symbols, right? If I say Christmas, you would say, what are some of the symbols of Christmas? Christmas tree, lights, and we could break down all of those symbols, right? And why people put lights out, it's the shortest day of the year, and the winter solstice, all that. That's a whole nother lecture. Y'all have to bring me back for that one. But anyway, so he said, well, we need symbols for Kwanzaa. So this symbol, everybody say Mkeka. Mkeka. This is a symbol that represents our African foundation. So when you set up your Kwanzaa table, it should look similar to this. And you want to have, there's a mat down here, so I'll bring my extra mat. And so what you want to have is a straw mat or Mkeka. And the Mkeka represents the African foundation, as I keep emphasizing throughout this presentation, that we stand on a strong foundation of civilization, of culture, of math, science, and technology, engineering, all that good stuff that we laid down for the world. Then you have what's called the Kanara. We say Kanara. Kanara. That's the candle holder in English. Kanara. And so, everybody can see, yeah. And it holds the Mashuma Saba. Mashuma Saba. Say Mashuma Saba. All right. The 7 principles of the Nguzo Saba. We're gonna go a little deeper with that a little bit later. The Kanara itself, though, represents our African ancestry in terms of our people. So the oldest remains on this planet of human beings is found in Africa. And they say this person lived between 2 million and 4 million years ago. Now, the Europeans that discovered her body, they named her remains, they named her Lucy. But the people in the village, when they discovered her remains, they named her Dinkanesh. Everybody say Dinkanesh.
Dinkanesh.
That's what they call us. So we're not doing Lucy, we're doing Dinkanesh. And I just recently found out Dinkanesh means the marvelous one. Wow. How cool is that? So through DNA research, through archaeological research, we all know that we're descended from an African woman, everybody on the planet. And so that's what the Kanara represents, our ancient African heritage. All right, Ashe. And so I mentioned Kwanzaa is the first fruits harvest festival. Usually I have a whole big old basket full of fruit, but we were lucky to we got one little line. Just so imagine you got apples and oranges and pineapples and plantain and all of that there. In our Mazel. Everybody say Mazel? Mazel. And so, as I said again, Kwanzaa is based on the first fruits harvest, so that represents the fruits of our harvest. And even though many of us are not farmers anymore, gardening, growing our own food, as our ancestors did, and actually a lot of people are getting back to that. Community gardens are really big now. A lot of people are getting back into growing their own food, and that's important. But what we say for ourselves and for our children is that we set goals for ourselves each year during the Kwanzaa season, and then during the next year of the Kwanzaa season, we reflect on how close we came to achieving those goals. So this represents the fruit of your harvest. So if you said last year, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to get a new job, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to whatever goal that you set for yourself. And you get your children to set goals too. Like, I'm going to stop fighting with my brother and sister, I'm going to get better grades, whatever it is. And so that's what the Mosaic represents. It represents the harvest that from the work that we've put in over the year, and now we can celebrate the harvest of that work. And I poured the tambiko with what is called the kikombe, cha umoja. Kikombe, cha umoja, which means unity cup. And we do the tambiko, which you already saw. And another thing that we do with that is we stopped doing this in public settings, for obvious reasons, but usually what we would do is that when you're home celebrating Kwanzaa with your family, everybody takes a sip from the tambiko. I'm sorry, from the kikombe, cha umoja. Everybody takes a sip and passes it to, usually start with the elder in the family and pass it down to the youngest person. And everybody takes a sip and then they say the words, Harambe! Harambe! Which means let's all pull together, Harambe. And that's how the kikombe cha umoja is used. And, okay, we come in. This has two names for it, Muhindi, or Vabunzi, Vabunzi. And this represents the children in our community. And so every family would have a number of Muhindi on their Kwanzaa display based on how many children they have in the home. And if you don't have any children, you still have at least one Vabunzi. Why is that? The potential, and also we really believe in the concept it takes a village to raise a child. So if you're an adult in the community, you are responsible for the children, even though they may not be your biological children, right? You know, some of us hear the story about when you did something wrong and your neighbor caught you and you got disciplined by them, and then they tell your parents you got disciplined again, right? But that's the real concept, and so the idea that if you see somebody doing something that they should be doing as a young person, you as an adult have an obligation to put them on their path. And not just on the negative side, on the positive side, right? So if you see a young person, they're doing something positive, right? You want to uplift them so they not just hear the compliments from their family, they hear the compliments from the community, right?
Yes.
So yeah, and people are correct. Even if you have, say, 4 children, some people will put 5 Vabunzi on the table to represent potential to have more children. And then here's someone say, no, we had enough, brother. We got 4, we're keeping it in 4, locking it. But yeah. And so the last thing during the Kwanzaa, well, not the last thing, but the other symbol, 2 more symbols we'll talk about, is Zawadi. Everybody says Zawadi? Zawadi. And so the Zawadi are gifts that are given to children. A lot of times people will say Kwanzaa is a Black Christmas, and it's not. It's not. However, there's a gift-giving aspect to it, and usually gifts are given to the children, or watoto. And the gifts are based on, again, like I said, those commitments that are made. So ideally, you've worked with your children, you've talked to them about what are the goals that they have. And let's say they have 5 goals, they only did 2 of them, then they get 2 Zawadi, right, to reward them for those accomplishing those 2 goals, and encourage them to continue to work harder on those other 3. And so that's how that works. The idea is that they should be given a Zawadi on the last day of Kwanzaa as well. And I just like to bring this because one of the things that's encouraged with Zawadi, that one of the first Zawadi that's given is a book or something of African cultural heritage. And then when I first started celebrating Kwanzaa with my family, we started making gifts for each other, which is encouraged as well. So this little popsicle box is very near and dear to my heart. My mother made this for me for Kwanzaa. This is about 45 years old.
Wow.
She gave this to me when I was a teenager. So, yeah. And then my sister made this. My mom was really into arts and crafts, so she had us do these little crafts. So this is what my sister made me one year for Kwanzaa back in many decades ago. And another symbol is called a bandera. Bandera. Ya Taifa. And it means freedom flag. And how much time I have? We good?
Yep.
We're good? Okay. We felt about finishing anyway. All right, so let's start with the green. So the green symbolizes
The land.
The land.
the land. What land?
Africa.
Africa, motherland, land that any people need in order to have a nation, in order to stand strong, in order to grow food, in order to be sovereign. What's the black symbolize?
Our people.
Our people. All right, brother. Say that's all. You waiting on that one? Yes, sir. Our people. Exactly. And what's the red symbolize?
Blood.
What blood?
Our people. Blood. The mothers.
Ancestors. Yeah, we particularly think about blood that was shed in struggle, right? So people that were killed like Malcolm X, people who were killed like Martin Luther King, people who were killed like Medgar Evers, who sacrificed their blood on our behalf. So the red really is symbolizing the blood of struggle for overcoming oppression. And I think those are all that is definitely all the symbols. Let me see my notes, what else I want to talk about that I leave out. All of that, good. Okay. So, the sixth night of Kwanzaa, on the sixth night of Kwanzaa, we have what's called a Karamu. It actually coincides with December 31st. So we have a cultural Karamu, which basically means feast. If I say Karamu, which means feast. And so we come together and we celebrate with your family and with other families come together. And there's a big potluck and we celebrate into the new year, the Gregorian calendar new year. And so that's done on December 31st on the night of Ka'umba. We have a Karamu feast or festival. And on the last day of Kwanzaa is considered a day of reflection, January 1st. And so we're asked to be still on that day and reflective on that day. Again, assessing yourself, assessing the year, thinking about what you want to do in the next year. And Dr. Maulana Karenga says we should ask ourselves these three questions. Everybody say, who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I?
Am I who I say I am? Am I all I ought to be? Am I all I ought to be? That's the self-assessment tool that Dr. Maulana Karenga asks you to consider on the last day of Kwanzaa. And we close out our Kwanzaa celebrations with doing 7 Harambe. So I'm going to ask you to stand. And we start with an open hand, which represents disunity, right? And we know we don't have a lot of power with our open hand. But if I was to close it, boom, we got power, right? So that represent disunity coming into unity. And we do it 7 times for the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which some people are going to elucidate in a minute. And so we do 7 Harambes. Moja, and I say tattoo is 3 in Kiswahili. Moja, Mbili, Tatu. Harambe! 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 I didn't cue y'all up on that. So, when you have Kwanzaa, you can have a seat. The last one, you're supposed to hold it as loud and as strong as you can. We're going to blow the roof off at the people down the block here saying Harambe. So, next time. All I think I should take some questions maybe, and then if not, we'll continue with the program. Yes.
What other countries is celebrating besides the US?
And that's a good question. Are you talking about Harvest Festival or Kwanzaa specifically? Kwanzaa specifically. Well, it's interesting because Kwanzaa has gone to Africa and been celebrated there. You know, there's a lot of repatriate people there as well, and other places like Jamaica, I understand, Europe and England. And so it has moved out into other countries as well, celebrating it. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Yes, sir.
I have a question about the gift of your sister.
Yes.
Is that a spider? Does it represent a Nazi?
This, I think that I look at it. I think this is a beetle.
Oh, okay.
Which also has a lot of symbolism in ancient Kemet as well. The scarab beetle.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody asked that one before. I see someone here. Okay, go ahead.
Well, could you talk to us about the significance of lighting the candles?
Sure, and which we're not going to be able to do, unfortunately, because of the rules here at the YMCA. But, so the idea, thanks for that question. The idea is that when you light the candle, you're lighting that principle into your life, right? So this is Umoja, and we will light Umoja. And you would say the word Umoja, and then everybody would say Umoja. The call response would say means unity. Then we go to the next candle, Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujima, cooperative economics. Nia, purpose. Kuumba, and Imani. So yeah, each night you start with the black candle, and then you go to the next principle of that day. And like I said, it's like lighting up the principle into your life. Thank you for that question. I thought I saw some more hands. Y'all put your hands down. Everybody was going to ask me that same question though. Okay. Thank you, Ujima, Men's. Oh, I see a hand. Go ahead. Don't be
Is
shy.
there significance behind the color of the candle?
Yes. Well, we talked about the colors of the flag, red, black, and green. So that's those why he used those colors in the flag. In the Mashuma style, but the 7 candles. And this is the proper way that this should. So when you're facing the Kanara, the candle should be, red should be on your left, right? And the green should be on the right when you're facing it.
Does it matter for the colors for the principal?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, so that was the order I did. Umoja, then the red, Kujichagulia, Ujima, Ujima, Nia, Kuumba, Imani. Yes. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So yeah, black, and then the red, then the green, then back to the red. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, thank you, Ujima Men's Society. It's been, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share about Kwanzaa. My wife and I just moved down and our son just moved to Florida about 4 years ago. And we moved from Atlanta, and Kwanzaa is a really big deal for me. I'm all involved in Kwanzaa for years and years. And it's been a little bit slow getting involved with Kwanzaa down here in South Florida. But last year was a great year. We hooked up with the Ujima Men's Collective and other organizations. I wanted to let people know I do libation. We walked into the first Kwanzaa and said, the people who do libation ain't here today. Anybody do libation? My wife said, there you go. And then we were walking at the same and last year, just one more. So we were walking. There was a Kwanzaa festival outside, and we were walking. Just got there. Just got out of the car. We were walking across the park, and the lady said, "We need somebody to do libation." And she said, "Don't you do libation, bro?" I said, "Yes." So we're very glad that we've been able to integrate, and so if you have Kwanzaa, we're happy to come and do the libation, do the symbols, do the Tambiko. Y'all forgive me, I've been saying libation for so long, I'm trying to remember Tambiko. But thank you again. All right.
Thank you so much. Hopefully we've gotten some great information about Kwanzaa, because one of the things we wanted to do this year was, which we've done differently, is to really give you education about what Kwanzaa is and how you can actually celebrate it on your own with your own family and friends, because the way we've done it before was like we brought everyone in on every day. We did like from the 26th to the 1st. We tried to do every day, but it was like very difficult because so many organizations, a lot of people were gone during the holiday season. But this was a way of educating everybody about Kwanzaa, giving you the information, therefore you can go home and do it with your family. So let's thank Brother Jamoki. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. We're gonna have Butterfly, he's gonna come up and give us some spoken word.
We gotta exercise what Kwanzaa is, so I need the drummer to join me.
All right.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
That's right. I'm fine, not for you, baby.
You and I, T.Y.
I hear Queen Latifah.
You and I, T.Y.
For the moment, it seems like it's just a word that's in the use section of the dictionary. Because each and every day I'm hearing the news, I'm watching the news on social media. One of my Facebook friends is posting, "Gone too soon." Oh, but let me rewind. See, there's a misconception that Kwanzaa is a religion. No, it's just an exercising of principles for 7 days after Christmas, but it's principles that we should actually be exercising 365 days a year, 366 when it's a leap year. You and I, T.Y. It's a unity, umoja, umoja, umoja. Kuji, changulia, self-determination. We as individuals, we tend to question, why are we here? What are we doing? Why were we born? Only for each and every day that we step out of our homes into the midst of the world, something or someone approaches us to let us know why we are here. But then we return home and we sit in our own space, in our own silence, and we begin to rewind our life. And we start to realize goals must be set. Goals must be exercised. Ujima. Collective works and responsibility. It doesn't take a village to raise a child, it takes a village to raise people. Because all we are is grown adults, but children as well, paying bills. Going to work, collecting a paycheck, to keep the lights on, to keep a roof over our heads, to put food in our bellies. But we must still come together. Brother man, how much for them incense you got? Better yet, how much for that bar soap that you're selling? Sister girl, I like that dress that you're selling that I saw in the window. In other words, support each other. We as a people, we have to stop telling our brothers and sisters, I heard you open up your little business. No, it's a business.
Right.
Words are powerful. We curse each other with the things that we say. They never lied when they said that words are powerful. Keep your powerful essence, but also execute your powerful essence. Yes, there's Bath and Betty Works, but you also have that sister that lives down the street that sells the same thing that Bath and Body Works sells. It's 8 billion plus people in the world. We can share the wealth. Keep it going. Collective, cooperative, economics. Money is what makes the world go round. But if we lived in the way that we were born and we're going to die, this world would be came into the world with nothing. We are leaving out with nothing. In between is our dash. How are you living your dash? See, we have so many challenges, and they're stupid challenges on TikTok. But I've put out a challenge that if you're in line behind an individual at the gas station or at the grocery store and they are short $2 to $5, give that $2 to $5. No one should have to put anything back. And at the last time that I checked, where is $5 going to get a Cadillac Escalade? But only from the pump that they pumped at. Purpose. Within the midst of the word purpose lies the word rose. And like a rose has to blossom and bloom, we too must blossom and bloom. It rewinds back to us asking, why are we here? What are we doing? When was the last time someone came and told you, you move me, you inspire me, you motivate me, you encourage me? Kumbaya, creativity. Each and every one of us in this room, outside those doors, amidst the world, we were given at least one talent, one skill, one gift of creativity. I know I've been using mine since the day I discovered it, but are you using yours? And last, the seventh principle, Imani, faith. Do we live it? Do we move in it? Or is it just another F word in the F section of the dictionary, no matter what size? It's challenging because the world outside those doors can weigh your shoulders down sometimes to the ground, to where you're hitting high five with the ants. Gravity is wondering when you're going to come back up for air. Life hits you, or as the new term is, life is lifing. One is telling you to hold your head up. You already know that that's something you need to do, but sometimes it's heavy because of the thoughts and so much that is on your plate. But again, we must press, we must push, we must move on, because we were all born for a purpose. We all have meaning in our lives. So again, Kwanzaa is not a religion. It's simply 7 days of exercising principles that we must exercise every day that we live and breathe.
One of the things we wanted to do this year was a little different. We want to, instead of having people give the context of what Kwanzaa is, we're doing reflections of Kwanzaa. So we're going to do reflections of all the principles. We're going to start with Umoja, with Ederick Johnson's going to give his reflections in terms of when he hears Umoja and unity, what does that mean to him? So he's going to give us his reflections. Ederick?
You are the light. You are.
You are the light.
You are the light.
Hey, I know, right? Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and beloved community members, and to the visionary of tonight, and one who I consider not only a role model, but a father figure, none other than Lorenzo Robertson. Only thing I hold against him, he's an alpha man. That's it. Good evening. My name is Ederick Johnson. I am a research associate at the Yale University School of Nursing with the HBTN 096 study with the School of Nursing, as well as the first openly gay worshipful master in Prince Hall history of the New Era Masonic Lodge number 69, Prince Hall. As we gather today to celebrate Kwanzaa, I'm honored to focus our attention on the first principle of this beautiful holiday. How do we pronounce it? Umoja, which means unity. Kwanzaa is a time for reflection, celebration, and connection. And this principle serves as a guiding light for our community, especially in 2024. It calls us to strive for unity in our families, in our communities, and beyond. In our Black community, this principle resonates deeply. We have faced unique challenges this year and triumphs navigating a world that often seeks to divide us, yet it is our unity that empowers us to rise above adversity. In 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where embracing this principle can help us foster solidarity as well as strength. By celebrating our collective identity, we reinforce the importance of standing together. Unity in our community means creating safe spaces, and we thank the universe for Ujima for creating this safe space on tonight, as well as supporting one another. We heard that previously from Auntie Butterfly, supporting those businesses, supporting our brothers and sisters. Together, we advocate for our rights, uplift our culture, and ensure that the future generations inherit a legacy of love as well as acceptance. Moreover, this principle reminds us the power of communion. Touch your neighbor and say communion. Oh, no, not touch your other neighbor. They look like they had attitude. Say communion. In many ways, communion, whether it be through shared meals, gatherings, or support system, it embodies the spirit of unity. When we come together, we create bonds that strengthen our community. We share stories, experiences, and love, weaving the tapestry of resilience that reflects our diverse identities. In 2024, let us deepen this communion. Let us gather not only in celebration, but in support of one another. Let's share our resources, our talents, and our passions, whether it's through mentorship programs, community events, or simply checking in on one another. We can embody this principle in our everyday lives. As we reflect, let us also acknowledge the importance of intersectionality. Our experiences as Black individuals as part of the LGBTQIA+ community are intertwined in the unity that we must honor and celebrate these intersections. We are stronger when we uplift each other and our identities, recognizing that each contributes to the richness of our community. In closing, I urge each of you to embrace the spirit of this principle in 2024. Reach out to someone today, whether it's a friend, family member, yes, even an enemy, and remind them of the strength we hold together. Let's commit to fostering unity, love, and support within our community, and knowing that in our togetherness, we find our greatest power. Again, thank you for being here today, for celebrating our shared humanity and embodying the essence. Together we can create fulfilled with hope, love, and unity.
Thank you, Ederick. We just really wanted a reflection. But thank
I told you I didn't understand the assignment.
Thank you so much, Ederick.
It's a big mirror.
The next one is Kujijagalia. We're going to have Adrian Russell come up and give his reflections on Kujijagalia, which is self-determination. Is he here? We're just giving your reflections and not anything beyond that.
Hey guys, so I am not a public speaker, and I got my assignment today. So I get Kujigagalia, that's it, right? Okay. It's all about self-determination, being true to yourself, and making the choices that are true to you, regardless of what anyone says or does. I think for me, I try to look at myself and see what choices that I make this year that were different than last year. Have I taken a step forward or have I taken a step back? And so I try to be true to myself and making better choices than I did the year before. So I guess I would have to ask all of you, who are you internally? Are you making the right choices? Are you taking a step back? Or are you taking a step forward? Coolly gobbly, self-determination.
Thank you, Adrian. Again, it's just really your reflections. Our next one is Ujima, which people probably thought I would have done that because we're the Ujima Men's Collective. But actually, I'm gonna have a good friend of mine, Michael Green's gonna do his reflections on Ujima.
Greetings, everyone. I think I understand the assignment, and it's just a reflective. It is very hard when you grow up in the church with a microphone and a podium. But anyway, and I too, Adrian, received my assignment just a few minutes ago. Well, yeah, I did. That part right there. But anyway, Ujima, community work and responsibility, collective work. I think I know a little bit about that, just a little bit. But I will say, as a reflection, I am so grateful, first of all, to be here. I've learned a lot this evening, and you would be surprised how many people grow up as people of color that don't understand Kwanzaa or any other principles. So thank you very much. Thank you. Butterfly, that was amazing. Edric, you know you can speak, boy. Anyway, my reflection when I think about community is that we have a wonderful community. Sometimes community gets on your last nerve, but that's part of it. You know, we got to keep it real. I am focusing on our future as a community because we have been given principles and we have seen examples of community leaders and builders bringing us together. We will need that in 2025, regardless of who sits in the White House. We know who sits in our home, in our heart. But we are going to need each other in a way that we've never needed one another before. That's right. And so I would encourage us to look at what has been laid out before us, gravitate toward it, and build and go stronger in 2025.
You can sit in your seat, Cliff, next to Beyonce.
Our next one is, thank you, Michael. Our next one is Ujima, which is cooperative economics. I'm going to actually speak on that myself. When I think of cooperative economics, I think of how can we as people, how can we actually support each other? How can we actually support our brothers, support our sisters who have their small businesses, who have their businesses that they are trying to build in our community? I was at a luncheon earlier today, and that was one of the themes in terms of how can we work together, how can we work transactionally together? Because so many times we work together, we're trying to get, how can you give me, but I'm not giving you anything. So it's really about how can we work as a transactional community? How can we work in an environment where I'm working with you, you're working with me, but we're working collaboratively together that we both can win. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about how we can all get to the next level, whatever the next level is for you. Because it's like, how can we make sure that when we're in our communities, when I get a dollar, that dollar goes how many times in my Black community first, before it goes out of my community? we have to make sure that we start to make sure that our dollars are in our communities first, because until we start to do that, we're going to continuously give our monies to Walmart. We're going to give it to Target. We're going to all these other organizations. And many of the things that we're buying at Walmart and Target, we can buy from Black community or Black businesses in our own communities first, and then go to Walmart for things that we can't get in our communities. So for me, when I think about cooperative economics, I really think about how can we make sure that we are genuinely looking at each other as how can I support my brother? How can I support, when I'm supporting my brother, I'm also supporting myself and my own community. We need to make sure that we are basically, when we are giving unto ourselves, we're actually giving to everyone else in our community, building our community. And that's what we need to do in terms of our cooperative economics, making sure that our dollars go time and time and time and time in our community first, before it leaves our community and go into the other communities in this community. So let's make sure that we start to do that. Thank you. The next one we have is Nia, Brother Salik with Nia.
Thank you. Purpose. Nia is purpose. The reason that we do things. This makes me feel so good. Lorenzo and I met at many Kwanzaas ago, okay? And we had been somewhere earlier, and someone said, "Are you doing a Kwanzaa?" Yeah, is Salik in it? Salik, you want to be in it? And whatever he wanted me to do. Purpose. Sweet Honey in the Rock used to say, purpose. You know, we know the purpose in our lives. I remember in Harlem when Queen Mother Moore said, you know, you got to teach this Kwanzaa stuff. So I went into New Jersey as a school teacher. I taught it in New Jersey. I became a librarian. I was there last week visiting friends. They're doing a Kwanzaa that I started back like in '89. And I haven't been there in 13 years. And there it is, the purpose. I made up my mind that this is important. It's not just important for our children of color, but everyone in the United States needs to see how we built this country. Everything from the White House to everything else in this country was our sweat, and our children need to see that so they can feel proud. So again, my reflection, I thought about it on the plane, what am I gonna say? And all I kept feeling was, they're still doing Kwanzaa in Montclair, and it's Saturday. Okay, you know how much I want to change my airline, but I said, I gotta do Kwanzaa for Lorenzo, I can't. So please, Karenga said that make it your vocation to build community. That is the purpose of NIA. And that's what we're doing today. Okay, every time we gather like this, every time we meet, every time we help someone, that is the purpose. Make it your purpose to build our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Salik.
I love Kwanzaa.
Thank you so much. Kiowa. He's gonna do Kuwamba, which is creativity.
Who's better? Who's better?
I'll piggyback on what Salik just said, but it's all about creativity. And you know, like earlier, I was just given this assignment, so I'll just do a quick reflection. And it's about the commitment to using creativity to contribute to a collective well-being, to bring the stories of our ancestors and bring those to the children of tomorrow. For me, it's personally just to write music that helps to uplift and bring our communities together, and also to let us relearn about our history in the real way, in the way that it really wasn't written before for us to learn, you know? So to me, that's what it is all about. It's to use our creativity to uplift and improve our communities around the world and leave it a better place than it was when we got here. It's about planting that seed of that tree that you're not going to be able to sit and get some shade under, but our kids and our children will. So it's about that.
Thank you, Kiowa. Our last principle that we're going to go over is Amani. And we're going to have Christopher Barnhill. Don't act like you're not on.
Why you didn't say my name like you didn't know who I was?
Who is Christopher Barnhill?
I got my assignment just now too. I'm Christopher with Ujima Men's Collective. Imani reminds me so much of my grandmother. Faith, I'll tell you a quick story.
Hold the mic.
Oh, sorry, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was born, my name was supposed to be Derek, but I wasn't supposed to live past the day I was born. I was premature, had birth, some complications. So my grandmother prayed for me, and she named me Christopher, which means bearer of Christ. And so that's why I always tell people not to take the Christ out of my name, call me Christopher, because of her. She passed away this year, and it's been challenging to really focus on faith. But I'm in this moment, I'm just trying to stand strong for her, because I know that it's her faith that kept me here on all of these days, and now that I have to experience life without her, it's going to be the faith that's going to carry me through the rest of the day. So thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. One of the things that I really want to challenge each of you is to really think about the principles of Kwanzaa and how can you incorporate them into your day-to-day life. How can you incorporate these principles into your day-to-day life, 365, the regular year, 366 in the leap year, making sure that you are really thinking about what am I doing to be creative in my community? What am I doing to bring unity? What am I doing about my cooperative economics? What am I doing to really make sure that what I do in my day-to-day life, how does it actually impact other people in a positive way? Because when we look at these principles, they're very impactful in terms of how you can actually bring them into your life and make your life a better life. But when you're making your life a better life, you're making the people around you and all your community a better as well. So if you could think about how can we individually bring these principles into your life, incorporate them into how you live your life, that will start the process. It will plant the seeds in terms of how can we as a group to make our lives better. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And if you've seen this, we're the Ujima Men's Collective, and you've seen the QR code here. We, this year, have been selected as one of the beneficiaries of Florida AIDS Walk. So therefore, if you scan the QR code, you can go to our AIDS Walk page to actually donate, join a team, or create your own team to support us, because this is our first year actually being a beneficiary of the Florida AIDS Walk. And they do match what the amount of money that we raise, they match that money. So therefore, if you can support us in any way, $5, $10, $1,000, $2,000, whatever. Whatever's in your bank account, do you. But, just support us in terms of how you can actually support our organization to continue to do some of the work that we do here in Broward County, but also around the state and around the nation, because we do stuff that we don't do stuff only here in Fort Lauderdale. We do stuff other places as well. So, but again, if you can support us, please do scan the QR code and make a donation to the Ujima Men's Collective. We're part of the Florida AIDS Walk this year. And if you want to be one of our walkers, want to walk with us, please, again, join our team. So therefore, you can walk with us on that date. It's March the 15th. That's the actual day of the march. The walk. So therefore, if you are interested in participating, please, scan the QR code and join us on that. That's the way that you can actually support us so we can continue to do these type of events, but also some of the other things that we do. We have our mentoring program, which is our Protege Project, which is for men who are Black and gender-loving men who are between the ages of 18 and 34 are the proteges, and our 35 and older are our mentors. We also have our program that we're doing for, we do our HIV testing program as well. So therefore, just support some of the programs that we do here in Broward County. That actually concludes our Kwanzaa program tonight. The food is here available for you, so please go out and make sure that you get something to eat. And I want to thank everyone for coming out, joining us tonight. Hopefully you got some information that you want to take with you, so therefore you can actually celebrate Kwanzaa in your own home with your family and friends, so therefore you can take the information that you learned tonight and actually incorporate it into your day-to-day life. And again, think about the 7 principles and incorporate them into your life as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you guys.